G'day and welcome back to my channel. This week I'm continuing work on this studio camera stand to replace the tripod. Because this has been painted with blackboard paint, some people have suggested I could use it for writing on. They're right. The vertical slider assembly is this, and this is the top plate. It's the same on the bottom. Last week I also got halfway through machining these parts. For the first part, where I'm facing using the big 100mm face mill, I got a bit of chatter on the first one I did. Remember, this is pretty thin aluminium, and I think it starts resonating along with the tool. So I'm hoping with a single cutter in there as a fly cutter, I'm hoping to get a better surface finish. This makes such a complete mess that I can only film with the camera through the glass. This channel's #1 fan, Nico, was complaining that last week's sped up motion made him feel seasick. Yeah, sorry about that. With this kind of moving table machine, to get nice sort of smooth sped up motion, you really need a camera which is attached to the bed. But last week there was just so much swarf flying around that even my crash cam, I didn't really want to get in the middle of that. Whenever possible, I mount this crash cam in here. It's an Olympus pen, something or other. It was my daughter's camera, and I dropped it and kind of buggered up this wheel a bit, so I had to buy her a new one. And now it gets to do all the adventurous stuff. These uprights here, which space the two plates apart and carry the rollers. Well, I don't have a huge amount of 10mm aluminium plate, but I think I can get all the parts I need out of just this scrap which I own. So. I've got 16 M6 holes to tap, one on each end, so it's time to break out the Tapmatic, do the job automatically. Now, while setting up the Tapmatic, I unfortunately bottomed a tap into this hole and broke off a tap. And then in an especially genius move, thinking I might be able to rescue the part, I then drilled into the side of the broken off tap, breaking off a drill as well. How was that, huh? I need to drill 19 7mm holes as part of this project. Now, as Murphy Law would predict, the only 7mm drill I own looks like this. So I guess we're going to be off to the Clarkson before we can start drilling holes. So first up, I just use a gauge block to sight along the lip of the drill to get it nice and horizontal. Lock there, and then I can install a finger. So now with the finger in place to index, I can just check to make sure that's going to be nice and parallel to the lip each time. That looks fine. So here's the setup I use. I use a square to put the drill at 90 degrees to the top of the table. Then I use the table offset to add the extra 28 degrees for the 118 degree drill point angle. So that puts that through there. And then use this to set the primary relief angle of 10 degrees. And then the secondary relief angle of 25. So here you can see it after my first attempt at grinding. I obviously didn't get it parallel to the flute because the facets are not parallel with it anymore. Although that might also be because I had to cut a fair bit off. So I probably should have reset it. Just chucked up a piece of scrap aluminium. Let's see how it cuts. Badly. Yep, there's not enough relief angle. Takes a lot of pressure and it doesn't really want to cut.
Later.
Well, I did a little more practice. The facets now meet in the center like they're supposed to. Proper 4-facet grind. Let's try it out. Good. That now cuts nicely. This is one of those tiny MAHO Unimat lathes which I picked up at some stage, which somebody had converted into sort of a little drill press. The good thing about it is there's no return spring, so it makes a quite good little hand tapping frame. Since viewers are already making fun of me for calling Alexander's 3D printed camera stand too difficult, and these uprights feel a bit too heavy, well, let's make them a little more complicated, shall we? There are two styles of uprights. So with these ones, I can adjust out any play. Those with the 5mm holes, just mount the wheels rigidly. So let's make those spaces. Well, I must say the mini lathe's quite handy for this sort of thing. Now that I've got my spacers, I can continue with the assembly. Well, even without any adjustment, it feels fantastic. Runs really nicely, no slop, super rigid. So let's welcome Nico back to our channel. He's our #1 fan. Just quickly explain, what are you doing here, Nico?
I'm cutting a California duster. This keeps your car, mostly car clean. So that's what you need it.
So it's a brush for car clean.
It's a car keeping clean device, yes.
Yes. So you bought it and it works fine, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Do this job.
Now you're going to cut the handle off it.
It's too large for the cleaning toolkit box I'm having, so I'm just chopping it up.
Cut the handle off, and then what are you going to do once you've chopped the handle off? Just throw the handle away?
No, we need the handle. The handle is very important. It makes your arm longer.
So once you've cut the handle off, you're going to put the handle back on.
Yeah, there, where I chopped it.
Yeah, that makes sense. A solution to a non-problem, huh? Oh no, it's wrong place. What?
Six and a half hours later.
That is really nicely aligned. Ish.
It's even almost turning through. Almost. And it's almost okay.
Next up is the counterweight that lives inside the vertical column. Attila, whose design inspired this build, posted about tipping, so I decided to do an equilibrium calculation. If you look at my camera rig at the moment, it's about 3 kilos with the tripod head, and based on the mass of the entire system, it looks like I've got about a 40 Newton meter righting force when the arm is fully extended. It means I could more than double the weight of the camera at full arm extension before it would tip. If that's not enough margin in practice, I'll be bolting some weights onto the bottom. This material is pretty thick, so I'll use 1/8 electrodes and put them up to about 120 amps. So I just need to cast the lead up to that line in my counterweight. Pulley will be up here at the top. This steel cable is going to be used to connect the counterweight to the slide. I found this in my junk pile, so I'll make a pulley out of that. So I'm going to need to put a 3mm groove into the outside of this. I'm pretty sure I've got a radius tool. Oh yeah. No, okay. I guess I'm going to have to grind something a little smaller. I think I'll grind it sort of something like this. Slightly angled sides and then a nice rounded end. I'm sure with a few more licks with the grinder I could have that good enough, but that's what you have a radius grinding attachment for. So you set the radius using gauge blocks. In this case I want about a 3mm diameter, so 1.5 radius. So to set the grinding radius, there's this stud, you put your gauge block in there and then push this up till it touches, lock it, and that then sets this stop, make our work touch it, and that's the radius set. Next up we set the clearance angles. That's done by just loosening off 2 screws either side and tilting the bed back. Well, that looks pretty close. And there's the final pulley. I didn't center the slot, just the way the tool holding was. Didn't think it was that important. I'll mount the tripod head out here on a bracket to start with. This is going to be the part that holds the tripod mount, so it'll be machined in 2 operations. Let's get going. No prizes for setup rigidity there. I probably should have put a little more thought into fixturing that, especially seeing as I've got a angle plate already dialed in right next to it. This orange plate here mounts the cross arm. So I think I've got this toolpath ready to go. 3D simulation. Why the fuck did that happen? I even hit the table. Well, if anyone has any doubts about the power of the Maho, yeah, divot in the table there. I'll have to go through the code and work out what it did wrong. So I checked all of the tools offsets before I started. That plate's now toast. I'm out of aluminium. I've ordered some new stuff from a metal suppliers, but that's going to take a few days till it arrives. So I can't mount the cross slide. I guess I'm at an end for this week. I was hoping to get this finished, but it's now going to be a trilogy. See you again next week. Thanks a lot for watching.